Hi everyone, and welcome to The Sleepy Scientist. I'm really happy you're here. Tonight, we're going to go on a calm and quiet trip to learn something amazing. So get comfy, take a deep breath, and let's enjoy this peaceful science story together. Before we start, tell me in the comments, where are you watching from and what time is it for you right now? If you like relaxing science videos, don't forget to tap the like button. Now let's begin.
In the quiet forest of your mind, where no bird flies and no breeze touches, there lives a kind of light that does not flicker like a candle and does not blaze like fire. It whispers. Soft and silent, it stirs in patterns too small for the eye, and yet it holds everything you are. These are the neurons, billions of them, tiny, reaching arms that stretch like vines across a darkened garden, touching each other gently, sparking softly, and remembering everything you've ever known. Long before you spoke your first word, before you even understood your own name, these little sparks began their dance. The first time you opened your eyes, when light hit your face and a world bloomed in color and sound, a handful of neurons reached toward one another and held hands. They shared the moment in the language of electricity. And they did not forget. They never forget. They are the keepers of memory, though they speak no words and wear no watch. Imagine now a thought forming, not as a sentence, but as a ripple in a lake of silence. It begins with one small spark, perhaps triggered by a scent you've long since forgot, the smell of warm bread drifting through a window, and in that moment your neurons begin to murmur to each other. Some fire quickly, others slow. The pattern is not random. It is a quiet ritual, shaped by years of waking and dreaming. Each neuron remembers its part in the dance. Memory is not stored like books on a shelf, neatly arranged in time. It is more like a constellation. A smell may light up a sound, which lights up a face, which lights up a laugh, and all of it together becomes one glowing picture in the sky of your mind. But each time you remember, the stars shift. The neurons fire again, slightly differently. Memory is not a photograph. It is a painting that changes each time you look at it. Deep in your brain, there are places shaped for remembering. The hippocampus, curved like a seahorse in shadow, gathers moments and holds them gently, not forever, but long enough to make you whole. It does not keep everything. Some things it lets fade. A child's mind may keep the color of a balloon, the curve of a smile, but forget the words spoken. This is not a flaw. This is nature's poetry. The neurons choose what to keep and what to set free. They do this by lighting paths. Every time you repeat a memory, the path grows brighter. Like walking again and again through a field of tall grass, the neurons bend and make way. Over time, that path becomes a trail, then a road, then a glowing highway of thought. This is how you learn. This is how you remember. Repetition is not just practice. It is electricity made into light. And in this world of spark and silence, chemicals are the messengers. Dopamine, serotonin, glutamate, they do not speak like we do, but they carry emotion through these corridors of the brain. When you feel joy, the neurons fire faster. When you feel sadness, the pattern changes. The light dims, shifts, but it always moves. Even in sleep, even in dreams, your neurons never rest. They carry the candlelight of thought through night and day without pause. There is something beautiful in knowing that each thought you've ever had was made by light. Not the kind from the sun or the lamp, but a flash inside you. Your neurons are candles in the windless room of the mind, lighting up each other, building memories not from ink, but from electricity and time. Even now, as you read these words, a pattern is forming. Your brain is not just receiving, it's painting. The words become pathways, the ideas become flickers. Maybe you'll remember this moment, maybe it will drift away. But for now, your neurons have lit a new constellation. And somewhere in the darkness, a spark whispers to another, this mattered. Let's drift deeper into the forest of thought, where memory is not just a spark, but a garden slowly growing in the dark. Imagine each neuron as a slender root, reaching for others in the soil of your brain. When you learn something new, like the name of a bird or the way a song moves, your neurons reach out, touching one another, forming new paths. This reaching is called plasticity, not like the word for things that bend, but for minds that stretch and bloom. Every time you practice something, walking, speaking, loving, your brain grows more certain. The paths strengthen, and soon the movement feels natural, effortless, like breathing. But memory is not just skill or repetition. It is feeling. It is warmth. It is the way your chest tightens when you hear an old voice or how your fingers tremble at the touch of a photograph. These are not just emotions. They are patterns written in light. The amygdala, deep and almond-shaped, listens for the music of fear, of joy, of pain. When something moves you deeply, it helps the memory burn brighter, staying longer in your mind. This is why we remember heartbreak more vividly than groceries, or the laughter of a friend more clearly than the words they said. There is beauty in how the brain links time and space. The same moment can light up many places inside you. One corner remembers the smell, another holds the color, a third remembers the feeling in your hands, and together these pieces awaken the whole moment again. Memory is not one candle, it is a village of tiny flames, each telling part of the same story. When they glow together, you remember. When one flickers out, the memory grows softer but never fully gone. The embers remain, waiting to be stirred by the breeze of something familiar. This dance of light is guided by both experience and rest. When you sleep, your brain becomes a quiet librarian organizing the day's events. In the silence of dreaming, neurons replay what you've seen and felt, weaving it gently into your long-term mind. Some paths are kept, others are gently erased, but none of it is wasted. Even forgetting is a form of remembering. It makes room for what matters most. The candle cannot hold every flame. It must choose. Children's brains glow differently. Their neurons are more eager, more curious. The connections form faster and they are not afraid to forget and begin again. A toddler falls 100 times and never doubts they will stand. This is not foolishness, it is the fire of growth. As we age, the sparks become steadier, more careful, more selective. But the fire remains. Even in old age, the brain continues to learn, to form new lights, to whisper new thoughts. The candle never truly burns out while life remains. Consider now a violinist, their fingers dancing across strings. Each motion is memory. The brain recalls the pressure, the rhythm, the song, but it is not stored like a file. It is recalled like a river flowing because it knows the way. The neurons remember not just the music but the feeling of it, the heartbeat behind the notes. That is what makes human memory different from machines. We do not just recall, we feel. Our memories are soaked in light and scent and emotion. Even the simplest memories, how to tie a knot, how to sip tea, how to smile when meeting someone, are woven through thousands of neurons. These are procedural memories stored deep in the brain's oldest halls. They do not fade easily. They are your body's wisdom, the quiet knowledge that lives even when words are lost. And when diseases like Alzheimer's dim the light, they often go last. The brain holds tightest to what it learned first, what it repeated most, what it loved. And still new sparks are possible. Every time you imagine or dream or wonder, a new light may be born. This is why storytelling matters. This is why art, music, and poetry linger. They give your neurons something to hold, something beautiful to light again and again. A story is not just entertainment. It is memory offered gently to the mind. And the brain, ever reaching, accepts it like a candle touched to another wick. We are all made of this fire, not just in the brain but throughout the body. But the brain is where it gathers, where it listens, where it remembers. It does not need to be told what is important, it knows. It listens for what you feel and builds its paths accordingly. If you nourish kindness, those sparks strengthen. If you repeat anger, those roads deepen too. You are not trapped by this, but you are shaped by it. Like rivers carving stone, the thoughts you repeat become the life you live. And so the whispering sparks continue. They do not need applause or attention. They do not ask to be seen. But they carry your entire world, your name, your laughter, your hopes, your regrets. They are the candles behind the curtain. And tonight, as you rest, they will quietly organize your day, carrying the embers of everything you felt, everything you learned into the soft shelves of memory. The light will keep glowing, and your mind, so silent, will hum with fire. Now imagine standing in a quiet room where no sound enters, no movement stirs the air, only a soft, invisible glow pulses around you. This is what it feels like inside the mind when thought becomes understanding. It is not loud. It is not sudden. It arrives like sunrise spilling gently into a dark room. That glow comes from the most delicate fire inside you, the neurons that remember, that connect, that decide what matters. And as we reach the final edges of this story, we begin to see how this light carries something far greater than memory. It carries meaning. Every decision you've ever made, every question you've ever asked, began with the tiniest flicker of light between cells. Neurons do not see or feel in the way we do. They listen, they wait, and when the right moment comes, they fire, not alone, but as part of a larger pattern, a soft chorus echoing through the corridors of the brain. Some fire to recognize a friend's face, others light when you hear your favorite song, and some glow when you pause and wonder about things far beyond yourself. These are the fires of awareness, of thought. These are the candles of consciousness. But where truly does a thought begin? It does not arrive from nowhere. It builds slowly like fog rising off a lake. First, a sensation, then a feeling, then a wordless knowing. By the time you can speak it aloud, your neurons have already danced through thousands of signals. Thought is not one light turning on. It is a slow ignition, a ripple of brightness moving across the brain in patterns too complex to see. You don't control this process, you are this process. You are the flickering flame of awareness, watching itself glow. And still the mystery deepens. Scientists can measure the sparks. They can record electrical pulses. They can see the shapes of connections, the speed of signals, the chemicals released. But no machine can yet tell us how these sparks become a memory of love, or the ache of longing, or the sudden wonder of understanding something new. This is the hidden beauty of the brain, not only that it remembers, but that it feels its memories. The neurons do not just store facts. They carry echoes of joy, shadows of sorrow, glimmers of hope. They are not just fire, they are warmth. In quiet moments when you close your eyes and listen inward, the light continues. Your mind does not sleep, even when you do. Dreams are built from the same fire. A memory here, a feeling there, a sound stitched gently into the shape of a story. During dreams, the brain connects ideas it never dared join in daylight. It imagines new paths, lights new trails. Some of humanity's greatest ideas were born from this silent lightning, proof that even when the world is dark, your brain glows on. Now think of those you love. Picture their faces, hear their voices, feel the quiet weight of those memories. The neurons that hold them are scattered across your brain like fireflies in a field. When you think of someone, you are not just recalling an image, you are lighting up all the places they touched. The sound of their laughter, the feeling of their hand, the story you told together. This is how the brain honors what matters. Not by placing memories in a single box, but by scattering them like seeds, so that when the wind of thought stirs, they all rise together. Even pain leaves its trail, not just physical hurt, but the deep ache of grief or loss. These too are written in light. They do not fade easily, but they are not meant to. Pain, like joy, teaches the neurons what to remember, and with time the fire changes shape. It does not vanish, but it softens. The sharp glow dims, becoming something gentler, something you can live beside. The brain does not erase what hurts, it learns how to carry it with more grace. In the end, your mind is a lantern, not one made of glass or metal, but of thought and fire. And every moment you live adds fuel to the flame. What you learn, what you feel, what you dream, each becomes part of the glow. This light cannot be held in the hand, but it can be seen in your eyes when you understand something new, or in your voice when you speak from the heart. It is the fire of being human. So now let the silence return. Let your thoughts slow. The candles inside your mind will keep burning gently even as you rest. They will carry your memories softly through the night, arranging your joys and worries like stars in a quiet sky. And when you wake, they will light your way forward again, whispering gently, "You are still here. You are still remembering. You are still glowing." There is a storm inside you, but it does not roar. It does not strike with thunder or flash across the sky. Instead, it hums beneath your skin in silence, a storm of thought born from quiet sparks and flowing currents. This is the lightning that moves through your nervous system, through your brain, through your body, a journey not of feet or wings, but of signals and speed. It begins in stillness, in a single flicker deep within the mind, and travels in invisible waves, painting your every movement, every feeling, every word you've ever spoken. Before a thought becomes a sentence, before your hand reaches for the cup or your eye turns toward the sky, something fires. A neuron deep in your brain lights up, reaching across the synapse, the tiny space between two cells, and sends its signal on. This signal is not a line of code or a beam of light. It is electricity, moving faster than you can imagine, carried by the shape of your biology. In this moment, the thought begins its journey. It is not one signal, it is many, millions. A cascade of lightning rushing through a forest of nerve endings. These pathways are not simple roads. They are highways wrapped around mountains, tunnels beneath oceans, bridges made of calcium and sodium, and a spark of life. The nervous system is a network stretching from the base of your skull to the tips of your fingers, from your spine to your skin. The brain is the command center, yes, but the body is its vast listening field. And every thought must travel. It must move. That is what makes it real. The journey of a thought is not straight. It curves, it loops, it consults. First, a region in the brain called the prefrontal cortex weighs the idea. Is this safe? Is this right? Is this needed now? Then perhaps the amygdala responds. Does this carry fear or joy or something in between? And then the motor cortex may respond. Should we move, speak, act? Every single part of your brain speaks its part before the body does anything. And all of this happens in the space between heartbeats. Imagine touching a hot surface. Your hand pulls back almost before you feel the pain. That's the power of lightning. Reflexes travel down your spinal cord and back again before the thought even reaches the upper mind. Some decisions are made in the deep, silent chambers of instinct. Others rise upward like mist, becoming conscious only once they've already shaped your action. You are not just the thinker of thoughts. You are their path, their movement, their echo. This storm of signals is not random. It follows laws older than speech, laws written in ion channels, in chemical gates that open and close to let the current pass. Potassium flows out, sodium flows in. A charge is built and then released. The neuron fires and then resets, over and over again. This is the rhythm of thinking. It is not loud, but it is fast. Some signals move at more than 250 miles per hour, faster than a race car, faster than wind. And all of it happens within you, every moment, even as you rest. The thought continues its journey. It reaches the spinal cord, branches out through nerves, and perhaps it tells your hand to move, your mouth to smile, your eye to blink. Muscles respond, soft and silent. The command has been delivered. The lightning has arrived. And somewhere in this chain of events, you feel that you made a decision. You believe you chose, and in many ways you did. But behind your choice was a wave, a journey that began in silence long before you spoke. Even thoughts that stay inside, never acted upon, still take the journey. They still move. They still light their path. You may imagine a song without singing, picture a face without seeing, feel warmth without touch. The brain creates its own reality through these electric signals. It does not wait for the world to show something. It imagines first. Then it decides what is real. In this way, the lightning inside you is not just reactive. It is creative. It builds ideas. It shapes belief. It turns memory into motion and imagination into understanding. This is why thoughts can move you to tears without a word being spoken, or lift your chest with joy in perfect stillness. The body listens to the lightning. It responds to the current. It feels the shape of a thought. So the next time you feel still, remember that inside you there is motion. There is a flicker. There is the soft crackle of electricity dancing from one cell to another, whispering instructions, forming ideas, making you who you are. Your brain is not a quiet room. It is a storm of meaning, a sky of thought, forever moving, forever lighting the way. Let us now wander deeper into this invisible storm, the place where lightning not only moves but remembers its path. Every time a thought travels through the brain, it changes the trail it leaves behind. Neurons are not fixed like wires in a machine. They bend, adapt, reach out to new partners. This is called neuroplasticity, and it is how your thoughts, quite literally, shape your brain. Each idea, each choice, each small wonder you experience leaves a fingerprint of current. And if that thought is repeated, the fingerprint deepens. The path becomes smoother, faster, more likely to light again. This is how learning happens, not all at once but in layers of sparks. When you practice something, a new language, a new movement, even a new feeling, your neurons begin to prefer that path. They build shortcuts, they reduce resistance. The more you use a thought, the more it becomes a reflex. This is why you can drive without thinking, sing a song without planning the notes, or finish a sentence before it's spoken. The lightning has found its trail, and the body follows without hesitation. But learning is not just about speed. It is about meaning. The brain does not strengthen all thoughts equally. It listens to emotion. A thought paired with wonder or fear or joy carries more charge, more weight. That current is etched deeper. This is why the things that move you are remembered more clearly, and why memories tied to emotion seem to glow in the mind's eye. The lightning of thought is not just a pattern. It is a reflection of what matters to you. Even the act of paying attention is a storm. When you focus, your brain quiets unnecessary paths and brightens a single one. Neurons line up in harmony, firing in rhythm like instruments in an orchestra following the same beat. This is called synchrony, and it's what allows you to understand, to reason, to reflect. When focus is lost, the orchestra scatters. Thoughts bump into each other, signals tangle, and clarity fades. Attention is the art of quieting the background thunder, so the melody of meaning can be heard. The brain also sends lightning through loops. Information travels not just once but in circles, from the outer cortex to deeper regions, then back again. This looping allows you to compare what you feel now with what you felt before. It is how you recognize faces, hear familiar voices, sense danger in something unknown. Each loop makes a prediction. And when the world confirms it, the loop grows stronger. The lightning becomes not just fast but wise. It begins to know what might come next. This predictive lightning is why your hand moves to catch something falling before you realize it, why your heart races before you see the shadow that startled you, why your mouth smiles a moment before the punchline lands. The brain is always slightly ahead, anticipating, guessing, filling in gaps. It is not waiting. It is building the moment as it arrives. This is not imagination. This is survival. This is the storm keeping you prepared for the shape of the world. And yet there is still mystery. For all the electricity we can measure, we cannot fully explain how these signals become the richness of thought. A single thought may involve hundreds of thousands of neurons, each lighting up, quieting down, passing signals across a sea of cells. But what brings these sparks together into an idea? What makes the lightning mean something? This question lies at the heart of consciousness, and it remains one of the great puzzles of science. The storm glows, but the source of its light is still unknown. Still, the lightning continues. It does not need to be fully understood to keep moving. Even now, as you read, your neurons are lighting in long waves of comprehension, connecting the rhythm of these words to memories of language, voice, and understanding. Your eyes move, your breath shifts, you feel something, not because the words are magical, but because your brain is. It turns black symbols into thought. It turns sparks into stories. It turns quiet lightning into meaning. And this meaning is carried in both directions, from mind to body and from body to mind. A sudden thought can make your stomach tighten. A memory can make your heart race. The lightning travels down into your limbs, into your gut, into your breath. It is not trapped in the head. It is woven through every part of you. And when the body sends signals back of warmth, of cold, of tension, the brain listens. The storm is a conversation, not a command. In this way, the lightning inside you is not just power, it is language. It is how your body speaks to itself. Every blink, every heartbeat, every tear is shaped by it. And within this language there is harmony. The brain is not just fire, it is balance. It allows you to act and pause, to feel and think, to remember and imagine. The lightning moves with purpose, guided not by chance, but by design written over millions of years. So let yourself rest in this wonder. Know that even in silence you are glowing with energy, with possibility. Every calm breath is carried by sparks. Every soft dream is shaped by waves of thought. The storm inside you does not rage, it flows. It carries you gently forward, through learning, through memory, through every small miracle of awareness. Now let us return to that first flicker, the moment a thought begins, not with noise but with stillness, with the quiet hum of readiness before movement. This is where the journey of a thought ends and begins again, in the hidden spaces between awareness and action. The storm has traveled far, across the fields of your brain, through the nerves of your body, and now it loops gently back to its origin. For even thoughts that pass leave behind a trace, a softness in the path where the lightning once moved. This is the quiet aftermath of the storm, a memory, a shift, a new place for the next spark to rise. Each time you think, your brain learns not just what the thought was, but how it traveled. It adjusts, it refines. The signal becomes smoother, the resistance lower. This is not a machine becoming more efficient. It is a living map redrawing itself in real time. The neurons learn where you tend to go, what feelings return, what ideas echo loudest, and they prepare. Over time, your thoughts become familiar paths and your mind walks them easily, even without asking. These are habits of thought, the silent patterns that shape who you become. But what happens when a new idea enters, something unfamiliar, something strange? The brain pauses, it listens. And then a new signal begins, a slow reaching, uncertain, hesitant. The neurons stretch toward a new partner. If the thought repeats, the connection grows stronger. If it fades, the path is forgotten. This is how growth feels. It is awkward at first, but if the storm returns enough times, the new road becomes just as real, just as bright as the old. Change in the brain is not sudden. It is the slow work of light reshaping space. This reshaping is why healing is possible. Even when pain or trauma burns through the nervous system, even when certain roads are too scorched to travel, the brain can reroute. It can find new ways to feel, new ways to move, new ways to believe. Neuroplasticity is not just how we learn, it is how we begin again. The storm inside you is never stuck. It seeks new places to go. It longs for light even after darkness. There are parts of the brain that specialize in this renewal. The anterior cingulate, the prefrontal cortex, the insula, these quiet architects help you reflect, adapt, understand. When you think about your own thinking, when you pause to question a feeling or notice a habit, these areas glow. This is the light of self-awareness, the spark that lets you not only feel, but know that you are feeling. It is the difference between a passing cloud and a sky that knows it holds clouds. And it is this awareness that gives rise to choice. For though the lightning moves automatically, though reflex and memory carry much of your life, you still hold the candle. You still decide where to place your attention. And attention is power. It is the moment when one neuron out of billions is heard above the others. When one idea becomes more than a flicker, it becomes focus. And with focus, the lightning is shaped. It does not disappear, but it bends toward your gaze. This is how will is built, one flicker at a time, by choosing what to light again. This means you are never just reacting. You are guiding the storm, slowly, gently. With every choice to return to a breath, to a kind thought, to a dream not yet realized, you light a path the brain will remember. It may be dim at first, it may be hard to find, but each return makes it stronger. The neurons will notice. They will carry the signal more easily next time. This is how hope is built, not from loud declarations, but from quiet repetition. A small flame that refuses to die. And as you sleep, this flame does not fade. The lightning continues. The brain replays the day's signal, strengthens the new ones, softens the unused. It discards noise, it keeps meaning, it dreams. And those dreams are more than stories. They are lessons, experiments, rehearsals for what may come. Even while you rest, the mind prepares, connecting dots you didn't know were there. In the morning, you may feel different. Not because of something seen, but because the lightning took a new turn while you were still. So the storm inside you moves on. It does not wait for permission. It is the rhythm of life itself. And though we may never fully understand how these sparks become love or how a single signal can carry 1,000 memories, we know this much. The lightning is alive. It is not just energy, it is intention. It is the shape of every possibility within you. It is the quiet fire that makes thought real. Now let the storm rest. Let the lightning hum low and soft like distant stars warming the sky. Your neurons, those tiny flames, will carry on, faithful as ever, shaping tomorrow with every flicker. You do not need to hold it. It holds you. You are the candle and the light and the hand that guides it forward. Inside the brain, where thought is light and silence is not empty, there lives a space so small it cannot be seen, and yet everything passes through it. It is not a place of noise, but of possibility, a gap between two neurons, a whisper between signals. This is the synapse, and though it spans only a thousandth of a millimeter, it is the gate through which every idea must pass. It is here that a single signal becomes a connection. And it is through this connection that everything you've ever known, remembered, or loved finds its way. The synapse is not a bridge. It is a space between two hands reaching. One neuron ends in a bulb, a terminal swollen like a fruit full of meaning. The other waits with open arms, its membrane lined with delicate receptors. When a signal reaches the end of one neuron, it cannot leap the space like electricity across a wire. Instead, it must translate itself. It must become something new, chemistry. The neuron releases tiny messengers, called neurotransmitters, into the synapse, and they drift across like fireflies on a breeze. Each neurotransmitter has a shape, a purpose, a key, and on the other side the waiting neuron holds locks just for them. If the key fits, the door opens, the signal continues, and a thought moves forward not as a spark but as a ripple, as a wave, as a gentle handoff from one cell to another. This moment is not loud, it is not certain. Sometimes the message is caught, sometimes it fades. The brain is full of these maybes, these chances. But in every successful connection, a memory is born, a feeling is shaped, an action begins. There are billions of synapses in your brain, not just in number but in activity. At this very moment, trillions of messages are crossing these tiny spaces. Some carry hunger, some carry music, some carry the warmth of a memory just now returning. It is through the synapse that attention sharpens, that pain is felt, that laughter echoes. But the miracle is not just in the number. It is in the adaptability. Synapses change. They grow stronger with use, weaker with silence. They listen. They respond. They learn. This learning is called synaptic plasticity. It is how your brain remembers what matters. When two neurons fire together often, the synapse between them strengthens. The message flows faster, easier, more surely. This is the soft carving of memory into the brain. The more a path is used, the brighter it glows. This is why repetition makes knowledge familiar and why time makes forgetting gentle. If a path is not used, it fades. Not out of cruelty, but to make space for new light. Some synapses carry messages quickly, using excitatory transmitters like glutamate. Others are slower, calming, balancing, using inhibitory messengers like GABA. The brain does not want only speed, it wants harmony. Too much fire and the system burns. Too little and the system dims. The balance of these signals shapes emotion, thought, action. It is a dance between light and silence, and it happens in the space between every two neurons. Think now of touch, a hand on your shoulder, the way that signal travels from skin to spine to brain. At each step, synapses carry the message. They decide how strong it is, how urgent, how loud. And when it reaches the brain, other synapses decide how it feels. Comfort, surprise, fear, memory. The touch itself is the same, but the meaning is shaped in the spaces between. The same is true of every sensation, every word heard, every image seen. Meaning is not just received. It is built through connection. Even emotions are shaped this way. Joy is not a single signal. It is a pattern of glowing synapses, lit by serotonin, dopamine, oxytocin. Sadness is shaped by different messengers, different rhythms, but all emotions move through synapses. They are not clouds that drift across the mind. They are crafted, one signal at a time, in the spaces where neurons meet and speak. This is why emotions can be remembered, why a song can bring back tears. The same connections light up again and the feeling returns. And in this delicate web of space and light, relationships are formed. Between neurons, yes, but also between people. When you speak to someone, listen to their voice, feel seen, understood, your brain responds. Oxytocin floods the synapses, strengthening the circuits of trust, of love, of calm. Your brain learns safety. It remembers connection. It shapes itself around relationship. And this is not poetry. It is biology. You are built to connect. So now, as you pause to think, know that somewhere in your mind, a message has crossed a synapse. Perhaps it brought a memory. Perhaps it carried peace. But it did not arrive alone. It was guided, shaped, filtered, and passed along in the gentlest way a signal can move, not with a shout but with a whisper between cells, a touch without sound. And in that whisper meaning was made. Let us drift further now into the synapse's secret life, a place where connection is more than chemistry, more than mechanics. It is memory taking root. Every moment you live becomes a quiet pattern in your brain, built not with stone or ink but with pulses across these tiny spaces. When you learn a friend's voice, when you recognize the curve of a loved one's handwriting, it is not stored in a single place. It is held in thousands of connections, each synapse carrying a piece, each spark lighting a corner of recognition. The brain does not remember with a single cell. It remembers with patterns, networks of neurons that fire together in familiar harmony. This is called a memory trace, and it moves like a song written in light. When a smell reminds you of home or a melody takes you back to childhood, the trace is being lit again. The same synapses fire in the same order, and for a moment the past lives again, not as a faded picture but as sensation. You feel it. You are there. That is the power of synaptic echoes. These echoes, though invisible, can be strengthened. This is the principle of Hebbian learning. Cells that fire together wire together. Each time you recall something or practice a skill, the neurons involved become more closely linked. The synapses between them grow more efficient. Messages pass more easily. You are not simply remembering, you are rehearsing the connection. And the more you do, the stronger it becomes, until the thought no longer needs effort to appear. It is there waiting, because the path is now lit and smooth. But memory is not perfect, it is alive, it shifts. Each time you remember, the trace is not simply played back, it is rewritten, slightly changed, shaped by the present moment. This is called reconsolidation. It is why memories can evolve, soften, or grow sharper with time. The synapses involved adjust, reweight, listen again. A happy memory may grow warmer, a painful one may lose its sting. The synapse does not lie, but it does adapt. This is not failure, it is grace. It allows you to change, even as you remember. Now imagine learning something entirely new. At first, the brain struggles. The message is faint, the connection weak. The synapses involved are uncertain. They may not pass the signal, but if you return, if you try again, the message grows louder. More neurotransmitters are released, more receptors wait. Soon the bridge strengthens, the connection forms. This is the feeling of beginning, of unfamiliarity turning into understanding. It is the synapse saying yes. Even creativity is born in the synapse. When distant ideas suddenly join, when a new thought appears like a star in a dark sky, it is because two circuits that rarely meet have found each other. A novel link has formed. The synapse has taken a leap, joined one thought to another across a new bridge. This is how poems are written, how inventions are born, not from nowhere but from the recombination of old pathways into something beautifully unexpected. The health of your synapses shapes your ability to feel, to think, to grow. This is why sleep matters. During deep rest, the brain prunes unused synapses, strengthens essential ones, and clears waste. It is a gardener tending its lights. Dreams may be the mind's way of testing connections, seeing what glows together. And when you wake, the landscape has changed, made lighter, more ready for new learning. A brain deprived of rest becomes foggy, not because the lights go out, but because the connections are cluttered, unswept. Nutrition, movement, emotion, all affect the synapse. Omega-3s in your food help form the fatty layers that protect neuron signals. Physical exercise increases the release of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, a substance that strengthens synaptic growth. And joy, laughter, closeness, they flood your brain with chemicals that bathe the synapses in encouragement. These are not abstract feelings. They are conditions for flourishing, and the synapse listens carefully. Yet not all signals are welcome. Stress, trauma, neglect, they darken the synaptic sky. Cortisol, the stress hormone, can shrink connections in the brain's memory centers. Pain repeated too often carves harsh paths, making fear more easily lit than calm. But even here, the synapse offers hope, because what has been wired in can be rewired. The brain is not frozen. The space between neurons remains open to change. With patience, care, and new light, even the most painful paths can be softened. New bridges can be built. In this way, the synapse is not just a place of connection, it is a place of choice. Not always conscious, but always present. The brain chooses what to strengthen, what to release, based on what you give your attention to, what you repeat, what you feel deeply. Each moment is a vote, each thought a whisper, and the synapse listens. It carries the echoes forward. It remembers the light. Let us now return to the stillness between signals, the narrow gap that holds the weight of memory, the pulse of learning, the essence of being. The synapse, so small it almost doesn't exist, has now revealed itself to be the very theater where your inner life is performed. Each emotion, each decision, each memory is shaped not just by what is stored, but by how it is passed. The final act of a thought is not just in its spark, but in its handoff. And that handoff happens here, in this delicate space between. Over time, the brain's symphony of synapses becomes not only a reflection of experience, but a quiet guide to identity. You are not simply a collection of thoughts, you are the map of the connections between them. When you remember how to speak, how to feel safe, how to trust, it's not because the memory lies in one place, locked away. It is because your brain knows how to light the path again, one connection, then another, and another, until the feeling, the idea, the knowing, arrives once more like a sunrise across familiar hills. This is how love lives in the brain, not as one neuron glowing in the dark, but as an entire constellation of lights, a pattern built from every laugh, every embrace, every shared silence. These patterns become more than memories, they become a kind of shelter. When someone is gone, the pattern still flickers. The brain still remembers how to light it. And in doing so, you feel their presence again, not in the room, but in the network that once responded to them. The synapses cannot bring back the person, but they can still echo their light. The same is true for grief. It is not an absence, but a presence of broken connection. A network that used to light up is now quiet, and yet the brain does not go dark. Slowly, it begins to find new paths, not to replace the lost one, but to carry its memory forward in a gentler way. This is how healing begins, not by forgetting, but by reshaping the space where the light once lived. The synapse, with all its quiet flexibility, allows you to carry sorrow and still make room for joy. As we grow, the balance of connection shifts. Childhood is a time of wild growth when the brain forms more synapses than it will ever need. It prepares for everything, every language, every skill, every future. But then comes pruning. The brain watches, it waits, and it keeps only what is used, what is needed, what has meaning. The rest it lets go, like a gardener trimming a tree so it grows strong and sure. This pruning is not loss, it is refinement. It is how the brain becomes itself. In adulthood, synaptic change slows, but it does not stop. New connections can still form. Old ones can still strengthen. The brain remains open, especially to what is felt deeply or repeated with care. And in old age, even as some connections fade, others endure, especially those tied to music, rhythm, emotion. A song from youth may still light the path where a name has been lost. A melody can awaken a room that words no longer reach. This is not magic. This is the persistence of the synapse. And so, across the arc of a lifetime, your brain is constantly building and reshaping its connections. Not all are strong, not all are lasting, but each one, no matter how brief, is part of the great web of who you are. You are a being of connection. Every thought you've ever had has touched another. Every feeling has moved through a tiny bridge between silence and fire, and all of it together has made a mind. Even now, as these words reach you, the synapses in your brain are lighting softly, passing messages, comparing memories, measuring rhythm. Maybe something here reminds you of a moment. Maybe a feeling stirs. That too is a connection, a bridge formed not by sight or sound alone, but by meaning. And in that meaning, the synapse has done its work. So now let the lights dim gently. Let the messages slow. Your brain will keep listening, keep reshaping, even in rest. The echoes will linger, the connections will remain, and deep within, the smallest spaces of your mind will continue their quiet work, passing thought to thought, feeling to feeling, whisper to whisper, so that even in sleep you remain whole. You remain connected. You remain lit by the echo. Inside the folds of the brain, beyond the chatter of language and the rhythm of thought, there burns a quieter fire. It does not flare like rage, nor flicker like curiosity. It glows steady and deep. This is the fire of emotion. It moves not in lines, but in waves. It travels without words, often before we know it's there. It rises behind the eyes, in the throat, in the chest. And though it seems to come from the heart, its true origin lies in the mind, in the oldest and most hidden parts of the brain. Emotions begin in silence. Long before you cry, long before you smile, something stirs in the shadows of your neural world. The amygdala, shaped like an almond, sits deep in the limbic system, watching everything. It does not think, it does not speak, but it feels. It listens to the world for patterns of danger, for glimpses of joy, for echoes of what once was. When something familiar or unexpected enters your senses, a face, a sound, a smell, the amygdala flares. And like a whisper passed through a crowded room, the signal spreads. This signal travels fast, faster than thought. Before the conscious mind can ask, "What am I feeling?" the body has already begun to respond. The heart races, muscles tight, breath changes, and yet the fire is not wild, it is patterned. Emotions follow well-worn trails through the brain, shaped by memory, culture, biology. Fear lights one path, love another. Grief walks slowly through them all. These paths are not chosen by will. They are carved by experience and repetition, etched into the brain like riverbeds in the land. From the amygdala, the fire moves to the hypothalamus, the brain's chemical messenger. Here, the body is given its instructions: release cortisol for stress, send adrenaline to prepare, or open the door for oxytocin, for calm, for trust. These chemicals do not shout, they seep. They move through blood and breath, touching the heart, the skin, the gut. This is why emotions are felt, not just thought. They live in the body as much as the mind. The brain is the match. The body is the flame. Still, emotions do not burn alone. The prefrontal cortex, the seat of reason and regulation, steps in next. It listens to the fire and chooses whether to feed it or soften it. This is the balance of emotion, not to erase feeling but to shape it. A child's brain has a roaring amygdala and a quiet prefrontal cortex. The fire is fast, the control slow, but as the brain matures, it learns. It grows. It gains the ability to pause, to breathe, to respond with grace. This is not the absence of feeling. It is the harmony of fire and wind. But emotion is not only reaction. It is memory. It is anticipation. The brain stores not just what happened, but how it felt. This is emotional memory, and it glows longer than fact. You may forget the date, the dialogue, the details, but the feeling remains. A song can bring it back, a scent, a word. And when it returns, it does so not with logic, but with sensation. Your heart knows before your head. That's the fire relit. Even the smallest spark of feeling can shape behavior. A gentle warmth when you see a friend. A shadow of unease when you enter a room. These are the brain's emotional cues, silent guides helping you navigate the world. They are not always correct, but they are always honest. They tell you how the world feels before you can explain why. And in this quiet fire, empathy is born. When you see someone cry, when you hear the tremble in their voice, your mirror neurons light up. You feel what they feel. The same paths glow inside you. The brain does not separate easily between your pain and theirs. This is not weakness. This is connection. It is the brain's way of saying, you are not alone. In moments of stillness, when you sit with your thoughts, the fire does not go out. It shifts. Sadness may come like a fog, gentle but full. Peace may settle like evening light. These states are not empty. They are filled with subtle motion, soft pulses in the background of your being. The brain is always speaking through emotion, not with noise but with warmth. And so, emotion is not an interruption. It is the message. It is the language beneath the words, the light beneath the thoughts. It reminds you what matters. It keeps you from becoming a machine of reason. It keeps you human. And even when you do not know why the feeling has come, trust that it has a reason. The fire has seen something, and it asks you gently to feel. Let us wander now into the heart of this fire, where emotion weaves its threads not just through the brain, but through the body, the breath, and the stories we tell ourselves. Emotion is not a switch flipped in a single place. It is a current that travels gently, deeply, through multiple chambers of your inner world. From the limbic system outward, each region plays its part in shaping how you feel. But emotion is not only shaped by biology, it is shaped by memory, by attention, by culture, by love. The same event can light joy in one person and fear in another, not because the world is different, but because the pathways inside are. When the amygdala sends its signal, the message arrives first in the body. Muscles contract, breath changes rhythm, the chest rises, the palms grow warm. This is the somatic marker, the body's signature on each feeling. These changes happen before thought, before explanation. Your body feels the emotion before your mind finds the words. This is why a lump can rise in your throat without reason, why your hands may tremble when nothing around you seems threatening. The brain listens to the body, and the body whispers back. This feedback loop between the mind and the body creates the full shape of emotion. It is not just chemicals or sparks. It is sensation, it is perception, and it is interpretation. The insula tucked deep in the brain gathers these bodily signals and presents them to your awareness. It does not say, "You are afraid." It says, "Your heart is racing, your breath is shallow." And then somewhere in the higher mind, the feeling takes form. You name it, you give it color. You call it sadness, or excitement, or dread. But numbing is not always simple. Many emotions come in mixed colors. You can feel pride and grief at once. Love and loss, hope and fear. These are not contradictions, they are harmonies. The brain does not feel in boxes, it feels in waves. And the prefrontal cortex helps you hold these waves without drowning. It allows you to think while you feel, to reflect while you burn. And this, more than anything, is what gives emotion its depth. It is not only reaction, it is meaning. Your past shapes your present fire. If as a child you were comforted in moments of fear, the brain learned that emotion leads to safety. The synaptic paths between feeling and calm grew stronger. But if fear met silence or anger or shame, the message was different. The brain learned that emotion is unsafe, and the fire grew guarded. These patterns are not destiny, but they are deep. They guide how easily we trust, how freely we cry, how safely we feel joy. Yet the brain remains open. Emotion can be relearned. The fire can be reshaped. When new experiences of warmth, safety, and understanding are repeated, new circuits form. This is the essence of healing, not to erase what was, but to offer the brain new patterns. Over time, fear becomes gentler, joy feels safer, love feels possible again. The fire does not vanish. It finds new paths. Language, too, plays a role. When we put feelings into words, the brain shifts. The prefrontal cortex becomes more active. The amygdala quiets slightly. This is called affect labeling, and it helps us regulate emotion. Saying, "I feel sad," is not weakness. It is architecture. It builds space between stimulus and response. It lets the fire burn without consuming. And in that space, empathy can enter. Empathy is the shared spark between two minds. When you tell someone how you feel and they truly hear you, their brain lights in rhythm with yours. Mirror neurons reflect your state. The same circuits glow. This is not metaphor, it is resonance. And it is why connection can be so healing. To be understood is not just emotional, it is neurological. The fire calms when it sees itself in another. Even solitary emotions carry echoes of others. When you sit with joy, your mind may wander to someone you wish to share it with. When you feel sorrow, you may imagine who might comfort you. Emotion seeks connection. It reaches beyond the self. It lights the paths between minds, even in silence. This is the gentle fire's gift, to remind you that you are never truly alone in what you feel. Cultural stories also shape emotion. What your society calls strength or weakness, success or shame, changes how your brain interprets its own signals. A tear may be seen as a sign of fragility in one place and of honesty in another. The fire is the same, but the meaning wrapped around it changes. And this is why compassion is needed toward yourself and toward others. We all feel, but we are taught to understand our feelings differently. In the end, emotion is not a fault line to be feared. It is the quiet language of the brain reaching toward life. Every flicker of anxiety, every glow of peace, every sudden rush of awe is a message from within. It says, "You are alive. You are responding. You are part of the world." And the more gently you listen, the more clearly the fire will speak. Now let us follow the final flickers of this fire, not where it begins, but where it leads. For emotion, though born deep within the brain's hidden chambers, does not simply move inward. It radiates. It shapes your thoughts, your voice, your choices, your relationships. And in this last stretch of its silent journey, it becomes something more than a feeling. It becomes your way of being in the world. The soft fire, once unseen, begins to glow through everything you do. When you speak, your tone is carried by it. The slight tremble of hesitation, the lift of joy, the tightness of sorrow, it's all there. People hear your feelings even before they understand your words. When you move, the fire moves with you. In the way you walk, in the tilt of your shoulders, in the steadiness or tremble of your hands. Emotion is never hidden completely. It lives in posture, in pace, in presence. It is not something you carry like a secret. It is something you are. This is why emotional regulation is not about hiding or denying. It is about understanding the shape of your fire so it can burn without harm. It is the practice of pausing, of breathing, of listening to your own signals without judgment. The prefrontal cortex does not silence the amygdala, it listens to it. It translates its language. It decides whether to act or simply feel. And in that pause, wisdom grows. The fire becomes light, not just heat. But not all emotions pass quickly. Some linger, some return in waves. These are the deep currents: grief, love, regret, awe. They do not shout. They hum beneath the surface, shaping how you see the world. A person who has loved deeply walks with a different rhythm. One who has known great loss often sees beauty more quickly, more tenderly. These are not wounds. They are traces of fire that chose to stay, to become part of the architecture of the self. Still, the brain is generous. It allows room for new emotions. Even after sorrow, joy can bloom. Even in the quiet aftermath of fear, calm can grow. The nervous system is not fixed. It breathes. It remembers, yes, but it also forgives. This is seen in the way laughter returns after tears, or how wonder can return to eyes once dulled by disappointment. The fire knows how to rekindle if we let it, if we offer it safety, time, and softness. Some of the most powerful emotions come without clear cause. A sunset that stirs tears, a stranger's kindness that floods the chest with warmth. These are not mistakes. They are reminders that the brain is always feeling even before it understands. It is always searching for connection, for meaning. The fire inside is drawn to light outside. And when they meet, when something in the world matches the emotion already glowing within, that's when we feel most alive. In art and music, in silence, we find mirrors for our fire. A song that aches in just the right way. A poem that names what we could not say. These are not just creations, they are translations. Someone else's amygdala, someone else's limbic system, reaching across space to touch yours. That is why art matters. Not because it is perfect, but because it reminds us that we are not alone in feeling. The same quiet fire lives in others too. Even in solitude, the fire teaches. In the quiet of your own mind, emotion can rise and fall like tides. It is here that many of us meet ourselves most honestly. When no one is watching, the mask drops and the body speaks freely. A sigh, a shiver, a sudden laugh. These are the pure languages of emotion, unshaped by performance. And the brain remembers these too. It stores them as truth. And so, over the course of a day, a lifetime, emotion paints the contours of your inner world. It does not wait for permission. It arrives, it teaches, it leaves. Sometimes gently, sometimes with force, but always with purpose. Each feeling, even the ones we fear, carries a message, not to shame or trap you, but to guide you. The fire says, something here matters. Let that be the lesson. Do not run from your feelings. Do not bury the flame. Sit with it. Watch it. Let it warm you. Let it tell you what it knows. The brain will help you carry it. The body will learn how to hold it. And over time, you will find that even the fiercest emotions soften, not into weakness, but into understanding. So now, as the light of this story fades, know that your own light continues. The gentle fire in your mind, in your breath, in your being is still burning. Not to consume, but to illuminate. Not to overwhelm, but to remind you, you are alive. You are feeling. You are human. And that is enough. Inside your skull, behind the stillness of your eyes, there exists a world without color, without sound, without shape. And yet it contains everything you've ever known. This is the mind, not a place of structure, but of motion. Not a room with walls, but a field of light in constant bloom. And at the center of it all, guiding every spark, every connection, every shift of awareness, are the neurons, tiny living signals forming a map that is never quite still, never quite complete. A glowing map, drawn not in ink but in pulses and paths. This is how the brain becomes the mind. Not all at once, but slowly, gently, one connection at a time. When you are born, the map is mostly blank. There are roads waiting to be traveled, directions waiting to be written. Your neurons are ready, reaching out like explorers into untouched terrain. With every touch, every sound, every breath of light they learn, they fire, they link. The first time you hear a voice and feel warmth, a path is lit. The first time you smile and see someone smile back, another path glows. These early trails are not memories, they are beginnings. Foundations of what it feels like to exist, to be seen, to belong. As days pass, the neurons continue to build. But they do not build alone, they listen. To the world, to the body, to each other. They gather information and respond, changing shape, reaching new places, pruning what is no longer needed. This is not a map drawn by one hand. It is a living map, constantly rewriting itself. You are not born with a fixed mind. You are born with a garden of possibility. And with time, with care, with experience, that garden begins to bloom into thought. The sensory areas are among the first to take shape. The brain learns to process sound, to distinguish light, to recognize the difference between touch and temperature. These regions begin to organize themselves, not by command, but by exposure. A baby who hears many sounds develops sharper auditory maps. A child who is spoken to often builds stronger pathways for language. The neurons adapt to what they encounter, strengthening what is used, gently letting go of what is not. This is how the glowing map becomes personal. It reflects the world you live in. As you grow, the map grows too. New areas light up, the ones responsible for attention, memory, planning. The prefrontal cortex, still quiet in early childhood, begins to flicker with new connections. This is where choices are weighed, impulses managed, long-term thinking born. And all the while, deeper structures, the hippocampus, the thalamus, the insula, work in the background, guiding emotion, mapping space, coordinating sensation. There is no single center. The mind is a chorus. The neurons are its notes. And every lived moment is a new measure in the song. Thoughts begin to layer. A smell becomes linked with a place. A word becomes tied to a feeling. These layers are not stacked neatly. They are interwoven, a glowing web of meaning that shifts with every new experience. The neurons do not ask what is true, they ask what repeats, what matters, what brings safety, what brings joy. The mind is not built from facts. It is built from patterns. And each pattern is written in connection, in electricity, in the movement of tiny lights across invisible paths. Imagination soon finds its place on the map. The brain begins to play, not just with toys, but with possibility. What if? What then? Could this become that? These are not questions from nowhere. They are the signs of a brain making space for things it has not yet seen. Imagination does not mean escape. It means flexibility. It means allowing the map to include roads that do not yet exist, but could. This is what makes the human mind different from other minds. Not its memory, not its senses, but its capacity to create something new from pieces already known. Emotion adds another layer. The same path may light differently depending on how it feels. A face may trigger joy or caution. A word may soothe or sting. The glowing map is colored by emotion, not in hue but in intensity. Stronger feelings mark the paths more clearly. The neurons that fire in joy or sorrow leave deeper trails. This is why memories with feeling linger longer. Why lessons learned through pain or love are harder to forget. The mind remembers what the heart feels. By adolescence, the map becomes more complex than at any point before. The brain is pruning again, making room, strengthening what will remain. Identity begins to form not just as a name or a role, but as a sense of self that exists across time. The brain starts to ask, who am I? Where have I been? Where might I go? And the neurons respond by linking past to present, memory to prediction. They sketch outlines of future paths. The mind begins to see not just what is, but what might be. This glowing map is never finished. Even in adulthood, it shifts. When you learn a new skill, when you face a new challenge, when you fall in love or lose something precious, the paths change. New roads are made, some old ones fade. The neurons are still listening, still reaching, still asking what matters now. And whatever you show them, through attention, through repetition, through emotion, they will build upon it. So when you think of your mind, do not imagine a box filled with knowledge. Imagine instead a landscape at dusk, glowing softly with lights that pulse, fade, and return. 1,000 paths, 1,000,000 tiny fires, some bright, some forgotten, some waiting to be lit. This is your mind. This is the map your neurons have drawn, and it is beautiful. Let us now wander into the deeper curves of this glowing map, where the neurons not only build connections but give birth to meaning. For the mind is not simply a collection of sparks, it is a living story, a memory of everything felt, learned, seen, dreamed. And this story is told through networks. Each network of neurons, like a constellation, holds a theme, one for language, one for movement, one for memory, one for the shape of a loved one's face. These networks do not stay fixed in their places. They overlap, share, and change. When you speak, your language network lights up, but so does your emotional memory, your sensory recall, your motor planning. The mind is never doing just one thing. It is layering, always layering. These layers of thought are not accidental. They emerge from the principle of efficiency. The brain, though vast in connections, is selective. It prunes away the unnecessary. This is what makes the mind sharp. A child's brain may light up broadly when learning something new, drawing on sight, sound, feeling, movement all at once. But as the skill becomes familiar, the brain narrows its map. It strengthens the fastest path. This is why, over time, reading becomes fluid, speaking becomes natural, riding a bicycle becomes second nature. The neurons find shortcuts. The map learns to read itself. Yet the mind does not only seek speed, it seeks meaning. Meaning is born when multiple networks fire together in harmony, seeing a tree and recalling the day you climbed one, hearing a song and feeling your throat tighten with a memory. The brain binds sensory input with stored emotion, creating a richer landscape than facts alone could offer. And this is how understanding grows, not through isolated knowledge but through layered resonance. The glowing map is not a grid, it is a web. A feeling, a smell, a word, they can all touch the same place in different ways. The hippocampus plays a quiet but essential role here. Like a gentle librarian, it helps index the moments of your life. It does not hold the memories itself. It helps file them, place them where they can be found again. When something meaningful happens, the hippocampus lights up, guiding the memory into place. When sleep comes, it reviews what you've gathered, deciding what to keep, what to let fade. This is not erasure, it is refinement. The map cannot hold everything. It must be curated. And what is chosen is shaped not by logic alone, but by emotion, repetition, and importance. This curating is what makes the mind personal. Two people may share the same experience, but their maps will light differently. One may hold the memory in sound, another in color. One may remember the date, the other the feeling in their chest. Each brain builds its own pathways, shaped by temperament, by habit, by the quiet echo of early years. And so, even shared moments become private stories. The neurons have drawn them in your own handwriting. Attention is the lantern the brain uses to trace new roads. Wherever you place it, neurons begin to light. If you return to the same focus often, those paths grow brighter. This is why habits matter, not just what you do, but what you think about. A mind that returns again and again to fear will strengthen those circuits. A mind that practices gratitude or kindness or awe will light different trails. The brain does not judge. It simply records. The glowing map will grow in the direction you walk. Even imagination changes the map. When you visualize something clearly, a goal, a scene, a future, you activate the same regions involved in actual experience. To the brain, imagined and real often look similar. This is why visualization can prepare you, soothe you, motivate you. It is not daydreaming, it is rehearsal, and the neurons learn from it. They build paths even before your body takes the step. This is the hidden power of thought. It is practice made of light. Emotion deepens the lines. When you feel something strongly, the brain takes note. A loving memory paired with joy is etched more deeply than a neutral one. A mistake felt with regret teaches more than one brushed aside. The glowing map is shaped not by what happens, but by what matters. This is why learning is more than instruction. It must be felt. It must reach beyond the surface. When the heart is engaged, the mind learns more completely. And this is how the brain, over years, comes to know who you are. Not just your name or your job or your history, but your preferences, your fears, your rhythms. It anticipates how you'll respond, what you'll notice, what you'll forget. It builds a quiet model of your selfhood. This model helps you navigate the world, helps you feel consistent, but it is also flexible. You can change. With intention, with new experiences, with compassion, the neurons will shift. They always listen. And so the glowing map is not a finished painting. It is a moving river of thought, a tide of change, a soft record of all that has ever mattered to you. The neurons are your cartographers, the mind is their canvas, and the world, every color, every voice, every breath, is their inspiration. Now let us move gently toward the quiet edges of this glowing map, to the places where thought becomes reflection and reflection becomes self. For the mind is not just a space of memory or logic, it is a space of presence. It is the place where you know that you are. And this awareness, this sense of being, is one of the mind's most luminous creations. It emerges not from a single neuron, not from a single moment, but from a symphony of activity spread across time, across sensation, across breath. The neurons, though silent on their own, sing together to produce the music of consciousness. This consciousness is not loud. It does not need to be. It is the feeling of noticing your own thoughts. It is the soft echo of realizing you are sad or grateful or wondering why you're awake at 3 a.m. It is the way your mind can step back from itself, observe without acting, listen without rushing. And this too is built by neurons, by their connections, by their rhythms, by the slow, layered dance of circuits passing light from one to another. There is no single place in the brain where consciousness lives. It is everywhere at once, assembled anew each moment from the map you've built across a lifetime. Much of this awareness is shaped by the default mode network, a set of regions that glow when the mind is at rest, when you are not doing but being. It is during these moments, sitting quietly, walking alone, lying beneath a tree, that the mind drifts inward. The glowing map becomes a mirror. The neurons begin to replay, review, rehearse. You think of yesterday, of childhood, of a hope still waiting. And through this gentle inward gaze, your brain strengthens its sense of self. You remember who you are by remembering who you've been. But even self-awareness is flexible. The glowing map shifts with mood, with experience, with reflection. After loss, it may feel darker. After joy, brighter. When you learn something new about yourself, through love, through conflict, through solitude, the circuits change. The brain rewrites your story, and in doing so, it allows the self to grow. This is not weakness. It is the strength of renewal. It is the light returning in a new direction. The mind is also aware of others. Social cognition, our ability to imagine other minds, to feel what others feel, is a vital part of the map. It allows us to step outside our own view and imagine another's. When you comfort a friend, when you read a stranger's eyes, when you wonder what someone meant by a small silence, your brain is lighting paths built for empathy. These paths connect the self to the world. They remind you that you are not alone, that you exist not only within your own thoughts, but also within the thoughts of others. This connection to others shapes the brain in profound ways. The neurons that fire when you are seen, heard, understood are stronger. They bind emotion to safety. They build trust, and trust allows the mind to open further, to reflect more deeply, to feel safe enough to learn and love. We are not meant to shape the map alone. We are meant to share light, to borrow paths from one another, to light new ones side by side. Even silence is part of the mind. When you pause, when the thoughts quiet, when you watch a sunrise or sit with stillness, the map does not go dark, it glows more softly. The networks become more coordinated. The brain rests not by turning off but by tuning in. This restful awareness is vital. It allows the mind to clear noise, to notice subtle patterns, to return to itself gently. Meditation, prayer, solitude, all of these are ways the neurons breathe. In silence, the glowing map is not empty. It is sacred. And in sleep, it renews. As the body settles, the brain begins to sort, to file, to strengthen what matters and release what does not. It dreams. Dreams are the wandering of the glowing map when free from the gravity of waking. They may be strange, but they are meaningful. The brain is still mapping, still learning, still asking questions. Even in sleep, the neurons glow with purpose. As the years pass, the map grows rich, not just in knowledge but in nuance. The mind becomes less about answers, more about questions, less about reaction, more about reflection. The neurons still build, still connect, but with deeper rhythms. The glowing map becomes a kind of wisdom, one that sees patterns not just in data but in feeling. That holds paradox, that accepts not knowing, that finds peace in complexity. And one day, when the neurons slow, when the connections begin to fade, the map will soften. But even then, it will hold its glow. A familiar song, a long-held memory, a quiet laugh. These paths are the deepest. They last the longest. They are the ones lit most often by love. So now, as we step back from this vast inner landscape, let us remember what we've seen. Your brain is not just an organ, it is an artist. The neurons are not just transmitters, they are lanterns. And the mind is the living painting they create, moment by moment, spark by spark. This is the glowing map, and you are its light. Every night when the world closes its eyes and the noise of the day dissolves into stillness, something luminous unfolds in the quiet chambers of the brain. You may not feel it, you may not remember, but while your body rests, your mind becomes a theater of light, filled with images, emotions, memories, and impossibilities. This is the world of dreams, a place shaped not by rules but by rhythms. And though it feels distant when you wake, it is not imaginary. It is the brain's own language, spoken in symbols, guided by feeling, lit by sparks that trace real paths through sleeping neurons. Sleep begins gently. First, the body softens. Muscles release, breath deepens, awareness dims. The brain shifts its pattern. Alpha waves fade into theta. Thought gives way to drowsy fragments. The lights begin to lower. And then deeper still, the waves slow, entering the deep delta rhythms of non-REM sleep. Here the brain does its quiet work, sorting, repairing, storing. Neurons fire in synchrony. It is a time of restoration, a clearing of clutter, a silent tending of the glowing map. But then the waves change again. The eyes, though closed, begin to flicker beneath the lids. The body becomes still, almost paralyzed, and the brain flares awake not to reality but to dreaming. This is REM sleep, a paradox of stillness and storm. The cortex, usually responsible for waking thought, lights up again. So does the limbic system where emotion lives. But the prefrontal cortex, the seat of logic, stays quiet. The result is a kind of freefall through sensation. A story without a narrator. A world built from memory and imagination, unbound by time. In this state, your dreams unfold. You fly without wings. You speak to people long gone. You walk through places that never were, yet each detail is familiar, drawn from your own glowing map. The brain does not invent from nothing, it rearranges what it knows. A face from the crowd, a song from last week, a shadow of a childhood memory. Dreams are collages stitched together from 1,000 pieces of your life, layered with emotion, colored by need. And though they may seem nonsensical, they are deeply personal. The neurons are not wasting time. They are searching, resolving, rehearsing. Dreams serve many roles. They help process emotion. They help consolidate memory. They allow the mind to simulate challenges, practice responses, test ideas. A conversation you were afraid to have may play out in sleep. A fear unspoken may surface in symbolic form. This is not foolishness. It is rehearsal. The brain is learning even in sleep. It is updating the glowing map, strengthening the paths that matter, letting others go dim. The hippocampus plays a quiet role here, replaying patterns from the day. The neocortex listens. Together, they decide what to keep. This is why learning before sleep can be powerful. The brain continues the lesson overnight. It files, it integrates, it connects. This is why some problems feel clearer in the morning. The neurons have been working on them in the dark. Yet dreams are not just mental housekeeping. They are emotional windows. People who are grieving often dream of the person lost, not as a ghost but as a presence, a hug, a voice, a shared moment. The brain offers what reality cannot. It gives you a place to feel what waking life withholds. This is not illusion, it is healing. The neurons allow you to hold something soft, even in the face of absence. Some dreams feel so vivid they linger into daylight, a feeling that clings, a detail that won't fade. This is the mark of emotional dreaming. The amygdala, alive in REM, gives dreams their depth. This is why nightmares shake the body, why joyful dreams lift the chest. The emotion is real, the memory is new, and though the setting may be surreal, the impact is lasting. Even dreams you forget still shape you. The brain remembers their rhythm. It builds the emotional trace even if the content dissolves. You wake with a mood, with a shift, with something you cannot name. This too is dreaming's work. It moves in the background. It speaks in a language too quiet to be recalled, but the neurons felt it. The circuits changed. You are different now, though you cannot say how. The question of why we dream has followed humanity for centuries. Some say dreams are the mind's playground. Others say they are messages. But modern science tells us that dreams are biology with poetry. They are what happens when the brain continues to care, even in rest. They are what happens when the self loosens its grip and lets imagination take the lead. They are proof that the mind never stops growing. So when you close your eyes tonight, remember this: your brain is not going dark. It is lighting a world of its own. It is clearing the path, healing the heart, strengthening the mind, one silent dream at a time. Let us now drift deeper into the mysterious flow of dreams, where the boundaries between memory, imagination, and emotion softly blur. In this realm, the brain does not simply replay the day. It reshapes it, reweaves it, sometimes into patterns we do not expect. The neurons, ever restless, fire in new sequences, creating stories that may seem strange or impossible, but are deeply meaningful. These nightly tales are not random accidents. They are the brain's way of exploring, testing, and understanding itself. During REM sleep, the limbic system, the seat of emotion, glows brightly. The amygdala stirs memories of fear, love, loss, and hope, lighting the map with feeling. This is why dreams often carry strong emotions, sometimes overwhelming, sometimes joyous, sometimes confusing. The brain, free from the constraints of logic and sensory input, can delve into fears or desires that daytime mind might avoid. It plays with symbols, with metaphors, with echoes of the past and possibilities of the future. The hippocampus, responsible for organizing memories, works closely with the neocortex during dreams. It replays fragments of experience, weaving them into new contexts. This replay helps consolidate learning and integrate new information into the glowing map of the mind. Some scientists believe dreams help solve problems by allowing the brain to simulate different outcomes, practicing responses in a safe space. This dreaming rehearsal is like walking a path in the dark before taking the first step. Yet dreams are not only for learning, they are also for healing. When life brings pain, the brain uses dreams to process grief and trauma. In sleep, the mind can revisit difficult moments, this time with distance and imagination. It may recast the story, soften the edges, find hope where there was none. This nocturnal therapy is subtle, often hidden, but powerful. The neurons gently rewire emotional circuits, allowing new connections of understanding and peace. Sometimes dreams connect distant memories and ideas, forging links that were not obvious in waking life. These unexpected connections spark creativity and insight. Many artists, writers, and inventors have credited dreams with inspiring their greatest works. The brain's nocturnal voyage beyond rational thought opens doors to novel ways of seeing. The glowing map is not just a record, it is a forge where new patterns are born. However, not all dreams are gentle. Nightmares and night terrors arise when the brain's fire burns too hot, when fear circuits overactivate. These dreams remind us of the power of emotion in shaping the mind's landscape. But even in fear, the brain is working, trying to make sense, trying to protect, trying to warn. Understanding the language of dreams can help soothe these fires, turning storms into gentle rains. Dreams also serve social functions. Shared dreams or dreams about loved ones can strengthen bonds. The brain uses these stories to maintain connection, to remember relationships, even across distance or loss. In this way, dreaming is not just an individual act, it is woven into the fabric of community and belonging. The glowing map includes not only self but others. Throughout life, the role of dreams may shift. In childhood, dreams are vivid and frequent, helping build the mind's foundation. In adulthood, they become more symbolic, layered with experience. In old age, they can provide comfort, memory, and sometimes confusion. The brain's fire changes shape, but it never dies. Dreams are a lifelong companion, a silent guide. And though science has uncovered much about the biology of dreams, their deepest mysteries remain. Why do we dream? What do the symbols mean? How do dreams shape who we are? The answers may not be found in facts alone, but in poetry and feeling. Dreams are where the brain and heart meet, where memory and imagination dance. They are the light you cannot see, but can always feel. So as night falls and sleep calls, trust in this quiet fire. Let the neurons weave their stories. Let the mind wander its glowing map. And when morning comes, carry the gifts of the night gently with you, insight, healing, connection. For in dreams, the brain continues its most intimate work, creating the self. Now, as the night deepens and the mind drifts through dreamscapes both strange and familiar, the glowing map within your brain continues its silent work. Dreams do not simply end when the eyes open. They ripple into waking life, shaping mood, memory, and meaning in subtle, lasting ways. The neurons that fired in the dark leave traces, like footprints in soft earth, guiding thought and feeling throughout the day. Even if the dream itself is forgotten, its impact lingers, changing how you feel, how you think, how you see the world. In the quiet moments after waking, you may sense this lingering glow, a feeling of hope, a shadow of fear, a flicker of joy unconnected to anything you remember. These are the whispers of your dreaming mind, still echoing through the glowing map. The amygdala's warmth may soften the edges of anxiety, or the hippocampus may remind you of a lesson learned in the night. Your brain does not simply switch from dream to day, it carries the flame forward, blending the two seamlessly. Some dreams are clearer than others. Lucid dreams, where the dreamer becomes aware of dreaming, open a door into consciousness within unconsciousness. Here, the glowing map lights a new path, one of reflection and choice inside the dream itself. Lucidity reveals the brain's incredible flexibility, the ability to hold multiple states at once, to observe without being swept away. This meta-awareness is rare but reveals the mind's deepest capacities for self-knowledge and control. Throughout the day, memories shaped in dreams can surface unexpectedly. A phrase, an image, a feeling, prompting new insight or shifting perspective. This integration between dreaming and waking is part of the brain's lifelong learning. It is a conversation between parts of the mind, across time and state, knitting together the glowing map into a coherent whole. The neurons are not separated by sleep and wake, but connected by continuous flow. Yet dreaming is not just individual, it is universal. Every human brain lights its glowing map with dreams. Across cultures and ages, people have looked to dreams for guidance, for healing, for understanding the mysteries of existence. Though science and spirit may speak different languages, they meet in the recognition that dreams hold power. They carry meaning beyond the waking world and invite us to listen with both mind and heart. As you prepare to rest again tonight, know that your brain will once more light its hidden paths. It will tell stories, play with memory, soothe the soul, and prepare the mind for all that is to come. The glowing map will shine in silence, and the neurons will carry the candlelight of thought through the dark. And when you wake, the light will still be with you, guiding your steps with the quiet wisdom of dreams. Within the vast expanse of your brain, billions of neurons work in concert, not as solitary players but as members of a silent orchestra. Each fires its note, its spark of electricity, in time with countless others, creating the symphony of your awareness. This music is not heard with ears but felt in the quiet spaces of your mind, where sensation and thought, feeling and knowing, dance together in harmony. Awareness is not a single sound but a chorus, a weaving of light and silence, rhythm and pause, notes and spaces that together compose the essence of being. From the moment you awaken, this orchestra begins its performance. Neurons fire in patterns, each contributing to the larger melody. Some play fast and sharp, like flutes piercing the air, carrying urgent signals about sight or sound. Others hum softly, like cellos in the background, shaping emotion and memory. The timing of each note matters deeply. A neuron firing too soon or too late can change the whole tune. And so, the brain maintains a delicate balance, a precision dance that allows thought to flow seamlessly from one moment to the next. This coordination arises from the brain's incredible connectivity. Neurons do not act alone. They form networks that span the brain's many regions, each specialized yet interconnected. The sensory cortices gather information from the outside world, the colors, shapes, sounds, touches that make life vivid. The association areas bind these senses together, linking them with memories and emotions stored deep within the limbic system. The prefrontal cortex leads the orchestra, guiding focus, decision, and reflection. Together, these regions synchronize to produce the music of consciousness. The timing of neuronal firing is like the rhythm section in music, keeping everything in sync. Neurons communicate through electrical pulses and chemical signals, but it is the precise timing that allows signals to arrive in harmony. This rhythmic firing is called neural oscillation. Different frequencies correspond to different mental states. Slow waves accompany deep sleep, while faster rhythms accompany alert attention and active thinking. The orchestra changes tempo, key, and volume as you move through waking and sleeping, feeling and thinking. At the heart of this symphony lies integration, the ability to combine information from many sources into a unified experience. When you look at a rose, you do not see color, shape, scent, and softness separately. Your brain weaves these elements together into the single, rich perception of a rose. This binding problem is one of the brain's greatest feats. It requires thousands of neurons firing in precise synchrony, crossing boundaries of space and function, to create the seamless flow of awareness. Moreover, this orchestra is dynamic. It adapts to new experiences, learning and reshaping itself constantly. Synaptic plasticity, the strengthening and weakening of connections between neurons, allows the orchestra to fine-tune its performance. Repetition of a skill or memory is like practicing a piece of music. The neuronal circuits become more coordinated, efficient, and precise. Novel experiences introduce new melodies, expanding the repertoire of the mind. But the orchestra is not always harmonious. When rhythms fall out of sync, awareness can falter. Conditions such as epilepsy, schizophrenia, or Alzheimer's disease disrupt neural synchrony, causing dissonance in thought, perception, and memory. Understanding how neurons compose awareness not only deepens our appreciation of the brain's beauty, but also guides efforts to heal its disorders. This silent orchestra is also the seat of self, the feeling of I am. It emerges not from a single neuron or region, but from the concerted activity of many areas working together. Awareness of the body, of thoughts, of emotions arises from patterns of synchronized firing. The sense of being present in this moment, alive and aware, is the music created by these countless neurons playing in unison. As you read these words, the orchestra plays on. Neurons in your visual cortex interpret the letters. Your language centers decode meaning. Memory networks light up, connecting this new information with what you already know. Your emotional centers add feeling and relevance, and the prefrontal cortex guides your focus, allowing you to absorb, reflect, and imagine. This is the living music of your mind. Each moment of awareness is a new composition, a unique performance shaped by your past, present, and hopes for the future. The silent orchestra never rests, always tuning, adapting, and creating the soundtrack of your experience. It is a masterpiece woven from billions of tiny lights, firing in time, carrying the music of who you are. Let us now delve deeper into the heart of this silent orchestra, where neurons not only play their individual notes but learn to listen to each other, creating harmony from complexity. This intricate dance is called synchronization, a process by which groups of neurons fire together at specific rhythms, aligning their electrical pulses to produce coherent patterns of activity. Synchrony allows different brain regions to communicate effectively, binding together sensations, thoughts, and memories into a unified experience of awareness. These rhythms vary across the brain, each associated with different states of consciousness and cognitive functions. Slow delta waves dominate deep sleep, allowing the brain to rest and regenerate. Alpha waves emerge during calm wakefulness, like a gentle background hum. Beta waves mark active thinking and focus, while gamma waves, the fastest oscillations, are linked to higher cognitive functions like perception and consciousness. The orchestra shifts its tempo seamlessly, adapting to the demands of each moment, conducting the flow of information through time and space. Synchronization is essential for the brain's ability to integrate information across its many specialized regions. When you watch a sunset, the visual cortex processes colors and shapes, the emotional centers imbue the scene with feeling, and the memory networks recall past experiences. All these areas must fire in harmony, their rhythms locked in step, to create the rich tapestry of awareness that you experience. Without such coordination, perception would be fragmented, and consciousness would falter. The mechanisms behind synchronization are diverse and complex. Neurons use excitatory and inhibitory signals to adjust their timing, creating waves of activity that travel through neural networks. Gap junctions and chemical synapses help regulate these patterns, ensuring that cells fire together or in precise sequences. This orchestration is modulated by neuromodulators such as dopamine, serotonin, and acetylcholine, which can enhance or suppress synchrony depending on context and need. Learning and plasticity depend heavily on synchronization. When neurons fire together repeatedly, their connections strengthen, a phenomenon known as Hebbian plasticity. This strengthening of synapses enhances the ability of networks to synchronize, creating stable patterns that underlie memory, skill acquisition, and habit formation. Practice is thus akin to rehearsing a musical score, where repeated coordinated firing refines the performance of neural ensembles. Yet the brain's orchestra is delicate. Disruptions in synchrony are implicated in various neurological and psychiatric disorders. Epileptic seizures arise from excessive synchronization, flooding the brain with uncontrolled electrical activity. Conversely, reduced synchrony is observed in conditions like schizophrenia and autism, leading to fragmented perception and impaired cognition. Understanding these dynamics offers pathways for therapeutic intervention, aiming to restore harmony within the neural symphony. Consciousness itself may emerge from this synchronized activity. The binding of disparate sensory inputs, the integration of memory and emotion, and the construction of a coherent self all depend on the precise timing of neuronal firing. Some theories propose that gamma oscillations, in particular, are critical for the unity of conscious experience, allowing the brain to weave a seamless narrative from diverse elements. The silent orchestra also adapts dynamically during attention and focus. When you concentrate deeply, neural synchrony increases between relevant brain regions, amplifying the processing of specific stimuli while filtering out distractions. This selective tuning enhances perception and cognitive control, enabling you to engage fully with the task at hand. Meditation and mindfulness practices can cultivate such states, promoting greater neural coherence and mental clarity. Furthermore, the orchestra is shaped by social interaction. Shared attention, empathy, and communication involve synchronized neural activity not only within individuals but also across people. Mirror neuron systems, which fire both when performing and observing actions, facilitate understanding and connection. These shared rhythms create a neural basis for social bonding, language, and culture, extending the orchestra beyond the individual brain. As you reflect on your own experience, consider the countless neurons firing in synchrony, composing the music of your awareness. Each sensation, thought, and feeling is a note in this ongoing symphony, crafted from the precise timing of electrical impulses. This silent orchestra plays ceaselessly, shaping the very essence of your being, illuminating the mind with the light of consciousness. Now, as the silent orchestra plays on, its melodies weaving through every corner of your mind, it shapes not only awareness but the very sense of self that you carry. This self is not a fixed point but a flowing river, created anew in every moment by the rhythms and harmonies of neuronal firing. It arises from the dynamic interplay of networks across the brain, integrating sensation, memory, emotion, and reflection into a coherent experience that feels like I. This emergence of self is the brain's most profound composition, a symphony of light and shadow that tells the story of who you are. The default mode network, a set of interconnected brain regions, glows brightly when the mind is at rest or engaged in introspection. It supports self-referential thought, daydreaming, and imagining the future. This network helps weave together past experiences and future possibilities, constructing the narrative that defines your identity. Its activity is a testament to the brain's constant quest to understand itself, to find meaning amid the flux of perception and thought. Consciousness also depends on the precise timing of neural firing. When different brain regions synchronize their rhythms, they create temporal windows in which information can be integrated. This temporal binding allows for the unity of experience, so that the sights, sounds, feelings, and thoughts of a moment coalesce into a single, vivid now. Disruptions in this timing can fragment consciousness, leading to altered states or cognitive impairments. Thus, the orchestra's timing is essential not just for awareness, but for the continuity of the self. Emotions add richness to this symphony. The limbic system's rhythms intertwine with those of the cortex, infusing thought with feeling. This interplay gives color and depth to experience, making the self not only aware but alive. Emotional synchrony enables empathy, connection, and the shared understanding that binds us to others. It is the music of the heart echoing within the brain's silent halls. The brain's plasticity ensures that this orchestra is ever-changing. Life's experiences, relationships, challenges, and growth continually reshape neural connections, modifying rhythms and harmonies. This capacity for change underlies healing, learning, and transformation. Each new skill, insight, or relationship composes new movements in your personal symphony, expanding the repertoire of your mind. Moreover, the brain's rhythms modulate states of consciousness, from deep sleep to focused attention, from meditation to creativity. Practices that cultivate awareness can enhance neural synchrony, promoting mental clarity and emotional balance. The silent orchestra responds to these practices, tuning itself toward harmony and resilience. In social contexts, the orchestra extends beyond the individual. Shared attention and communication involve coupling of neural rhythms between people, fostering connection and understanding. This interpersonal synchrony is the foundation of culture, language, and collective identity. It reveals that the music of the mind is not solo but ensemble, resonating through relationships and communities. As you live your life, the silent orchestra continues its ceaseless performance. Each thought, sensation, emotion, and memory contributes its note. The neurons fire in time, crafting the complex, beautiful music of your awareness and selfhood. This music, though silent to others, is the vivid soundscape of your existence, the light that guides you through every moment. So listen gently within. Feel the rhythm of your mind's orchestra. Know that you are the conductor and the audience, the composer and the composition. And in this music, you find the true essence of being, alive, aware, and endlessly unfolding. Inside the folds of your brain, a delicate dance unfolds, a silent orchestra where billions of neurons play their parts in perfect harmony. Each neuron sends tiny pulses of electricity, like notes in a symphony, creating the music of your consciousness. This orchestra is never silent. It hums softly, weaving together sensations, thoughts, emotions, and memories into the seamless experience you call awareness. Though unseen, this music is felt deeply, resonating within the quiet chambers of your mind. The neurons are not soloists, but members of ensembles that fire in synchrony. This synchronization is essential, as it binds together diverse regions of the brain, allowing information to flow seamlessly across different networks. Visual perception, for example, is not a simple image but a harmonious blending of color, shape, and movement, orchestrated by neurons firing together in precise rhythms. Without this coordination, your experiences would be fragmented, lacking coherence and depth. Different brain rhythms correspond to various mental states. Slow delta waves dominate deep sleep, enabling restorative processes. Alpha waves appear during restful wakefulness, while beta waves mark active thinking and attention. The fastest rhythms, gamma waves, are linked to complex cognitive functions and the binding of sensory information into a unified whole. Like a conductor adjusting tempo, your brain dynamically shifts these rhythms to meet the demands of each moment. This rhythmic firing is facilitated by a complex interplay of excitatory and inhibitory signals among neurons. Chemical messengers modulate these signals, enhancing or dampening neural activity to maintain balance. This balance ensures the orchestra performs smoothly, avoiding chaos or silence. It is this finely tuned interaction that underlies your ability to focus, learn, remember, and feel. Learning strengthens the orchestra. Through repeated experiences, neurons that fire together forge stronger connections, a principle known as Hebbian plasticity. These reinforced pathways allow the brain to perform familiar tasks with greater efficiency, akin to musicians rehearsing until their performance is flawless. However, the brain remains flexible, continually adapting its rhythms and connections in response to new challenges and insights. Disruptions in neural synchrony can lead to cognitive and emotional difficulties. Conditions such as epilepsy involve excessive synchronization, causing seizures, while disorders like schizophrenia feature reduced synchrony, leading to fragmented thought. Understanding these dynamics provides crucial insights into brain function and potential treatments for neurological diseases. Consciousness itself is thought to emerge from this synchronized neural activity. The integration of sensory input, memory, and emotion into a cohesive experience depends on neurons firing in concert. This collective activity creates the rich tapestry of subjective experience, the essence of being awake and aware. Your brain's silent orchestra also shapes your sense of self. Networks responsible for introspection, memory, and emotion harmonize to produce the feeling of I. This emergent property allows you to reflect, plan, and connect with others, weaving your experiences into a continuous narrative. As you read these words, the orchestra is in full swing. Visual areas decode letters, language centers process meaning, and memory networks draw upon past knowledge. Emotional centers add color and depth, while executive regions focus your attention. Together, these coordinated activities create your lived experience. Each moment of awareness is a unique composition, crafted from countless neuronal firings. This symphony is ever-changing, reflecting your past, present, and future. Though silent to others, it is the vivid soundtrack of your existence, the glowing light within. Now, let us journey deeper into this silent orchestra, where neurons do more than simply fire. They synchronize, weaving their individual signals into complex rhythms that give rise to cognition and consciousness. Synchronization allows distant brain regions to coordinate, creating coherent patterns that bind together sensations, thoughts, and emotions into a unified experience. Different frequencies of neural oscillations, slow delta waves during sleep, alpha waves during restful wakefulness, beta waves in active thought, and fast gamma waves linked to perception, serve as the brain's tempo, shaping mental states like a conductor guides musicians. These rhythmic firings enable integration of information across specialized areas. For example, when you observe a sunset, the visual cortex processes colors and shapes, the limbic system adds emotional tone, and memory networks connect it to past experiences. Synchrony among these regions ensures that the perception is seamless and meaningful. Mechanisms such as excitatory and inhibitory signals regulate the timing of neuronal firing, modulated by neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin, maintaining balance and preventing chaos. Learning hinges on synchronization. Repeated activation of neuronal circuits strengthens synaptic connections, a process known as Hebbian plasticity. This reinforcement allows for more efficient information processing, akin to rehearsing a symphony until each note is perfectly timed. Conversely, disruptions in neural synchrony are linked to disorders. Epileptic seizures arise from excessive synchronization, while decreased synchrony is implicated in schizophrenia and autism, leading to cognitive fragmentation. Consciousness itself may emerge from these synchronized oscillations. The temporal binding of diverse neural activities creates a cohesive and continuous sense of self and awareness. This emergent property is what allows you to experience the world as a unified whole rather than disjointed sensory fragments. The silent orchestra adapts dynamically to attentional demands. During focused concentration, synchrony increases among relevant brain regions, enhancing signal transmission and filtering out distractions. Mindfulness and meditation practices can promote such neural coherence, fostering mental clarity and emotional regulation. Social interactions also influence neural synchrony. Shared attention and communication involve coupling of brain rhythms between individuals, facilitating empathy and connection. Mirror neuron systems enable one to simulate and understand others' actions and emotions, grounding social bonds in shared neural activity. As you reflect on your own experience, countless neurons continue to fire in orchestrated harmony, composing the music of your awareness. Each sensation, thought, and feeling contributes a note to this ongoing symphony, illuminating the mind with the light of consciousness. As the silent orchestra plays on, its melodies weave through every corner of your mind, shaping not only awareness but the very sense of self you carry. The self is not a fixed point but a flowing river, created anew each moment by the rhythms and harmonies of neuronal firing. It emerges from the dynamic interplay of networks across the brain, integrating sensation, memory, emotion, and reflection into the coherent experience known as I. This emergence of self is the brain's most profound composition, a symphony of light and shadow that tells the story of who you are. The default mode network, a set of interconnected brain regions, glows brightly when the mind is at rest or engaged in introspection. It supports self-referential thought, daydreaming, and imagining the future. This network weaves past experiences and future possibilities, constructing the narrative defining your identity. Its activity reflects the brain's constant quest to understand itself, to find meaning amid the flux of perception and thought. Consciousness depends on the precise timing of neural firing. When different brain regions synchronize their rhythms, they create temporal windows in which information integrates. This temporal binding allows for unity of experience, so sights, sounds, feelings, and thoughts coalesce into a single vivid now. Disruptions fragment consciousness, leading to altered states or cognitive impairments. Thus, the orchestra's timing is essential not just for awareness but for continuity of the self. Emotions add richness to this symphony. The limbic system's rhythms intertwine with the cortex, infusing thought with feeling. This interplay colors and deepens experience, making the self not only aware but alive. Emotional synchrony enables empathy, connection, and shared understanding binding us to others. It is the music of the heart echoing within the brain's silent halls. The brain's plasticity ensures this orchestra is ever-changing. Life's experiences, relationships, challenges, and growth reshape neural connections, modifying rhythms and harmonies. This capacity for change underlies healing, learning, and transformation. Each new skill, insight, or relationship composes new movements in your personal symphony, expanding the repertoire of your mind. Moreover, the brain's rhythms modulate states of consciousness, from deep sleep to focused attention, meditation to creativity. Practices cultivating awareness enhance neural synchrony, promoting mental clarity and emotional balance. The silent orchestra responds, tuning toward harmony and resilience. In social contexts, the orchestra extends beyond the individual. Shared attention and communication involve coupling neural rhythms between people, fostering connection and understanding. This interpersonal synchrony forms the foundation of culture, language, and collective identity. It reveals the mind's music is not solo but ensemble, resonating through relationships and communities. As you live, the silent orchestra ceaselessly performs. Each thought, sensation, emotion, and memory contributes its note. Neurons fire in time, crafting the complex, beautiful music of your awareness and selfhood. Though silent to others, it is the vivid soundscape of your existence, the light guiding you through every moment. So listen gently within. Feel your mind's orchestra rhythm. Know you are conductor and audience, composer and composition. In this music lies your true essence, alive, aware, endlessly unfolding. Inside the folds of your brain, a delicate dance unfolds, a silent orchestra where billions of neurons play their parts in perfect harmony. Each neuron sends tiny pulses of electricity, like notes in a symphony, creating the music of your consciousness. This orchestra is never silent. It hums softly, weaving together sensations, thoughts, emotions, and memories into the seamless experience you call awareness. Though unseen, this music is felt deeply, resonating within the quiet chambers of your mind. The neurons are not soloists but members of ensembles that fire in synchrony. This synchronization is essential, as it binds together diverse regions of the brain, allowing information to flow seamlessly across different networks. Visual perception, for example, is not a simple image but a harmonious blending of color, shape, and movement, orchestrated by neurons firing together in precise rhythms. Without this coordination, your experiences would be fragmented, lacking coherence and depth. Different brain rhythms correspond to various mental states. Slow delta waves dominate deep sleep, enabling restorative processes. Alpha waves appear during restful wakefulness, while beta waves mark active thinking and attention. The fastest rhythms, gamma waves, are linked to complex cognitive functions and the binding of sensory information into a unified whole. Like a conductor adjusting tempo, your brain dynamically shifts these rhythms to meet the demands of each moment. This rhythmic firing is facilitated by a complex interplay of excitatory and inhibitory signals among neurons. Chemical messengers modulate these signals, enhancing or dampening neural activity to maintain balance. This balance ensures the orchestra performs smoothly, avoiding chaos or silence. It is this finely tuned interaction that underlies your ability to focus, learn, remember, and feel. Learning strengthens the orchestra. Through repeated experiences, neurons that fire together forge stronger connections, a principle known as Hebbian plasticity. These reinforced pathways allow the brain to perform familiar tasks with greater efficiency, akin to musicians rehearsing until their performance is flawless. However, the brain remains flexible, continually adapting its rhythms and connections in response to new challenges and insights. Disruptions in neural synchrony can lead to cognitive and emotional difficulties. Conditions such as epilepsy involve excessive synchronization, causing seizures, while disorders like schizophrenia feature reduced synchrony, leading to fragmented thought. Understanding these dynamics provides crucial insights into brain function and potential treatments for neurological diseases. Consciousness itself is thought to emerge from this synchronized neural activity. The integration of sensory input, memory, and emotion into a cohesive experience depends on neurons firing in concert. This collective activity creates the rich tapestry of subjective experience, the essence of being awake and aware. Your brain's silent orchestra also shapes your sense of self. Networks responsible for introspection, memory, and emotion harmonize to produce the feeling of I. This emergent property allows you to reflect, plan, and connect with others, weaving your experiences into a continuous narrative. As you read these words, the orchestra is in full swing. Neurons in your visual cortex interpret the letters. Your language centers decode meaning. Memory networks light up, connecting this new information with what you already know. Your emotional centers add color and depth, while the prefrontal cortex guides your focus, allowing you to absorb, reflect, and imagine. This is the living music of your mind. Each moment of awareness is a unique composition, a new performance shaped by your past, present, and hopes for the future. The silent orchestra never rests, always tuning, adapting, and creating the soundtrack of your experience. It is a masterpiece woven from billions of tiny lights, firing in time, carrying the music of who you are. Now, let us delve deeper into the heart of this silent orchestra, where neurons do more than simply fire. They synchronize, weaving their individual signals into complex rhythms that give rise to cognition and consciousness. Synchronization allows distant brain regions to coordinate, creating coherent patterns that bind together sensations, thoughts, and emotions into a unified experience. Different frequencies of neural oscillations, slow delta waves during sleep, alpha waves during restful wakefulness, beta waves in active thought, and fast gamma waves linked to perception, serve as the brain's tempo, shaping mental states like a conductor guides musicians. These rhythmic firings enable integration of information across specialized areas. For example, when you observe a sunset, the visual cortex processes colors and shapes, the limbic system adds emotional tone, and memory networks connect it to past experiences. Synchrony among these regions ensures that the perception is seamless and meaningful. Mechanisms such as excitatory and inhibitory signals regulate the timing of neuronal firing, modulated by neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin, maintaining balance and preventing chaos. Learning hinges on synchronization. Repeated activation of neuronal circuits strengthens synaptic connections, a process known as Hebbian plasticity. This reinforcement allows for more efficient information processing, akin to rehearsing a symphony until each note is perfectly timed. Conversely, disruptions in neural synchrony are linked to disorders. Epileptic seizures arise from excessive synchronization, while decreased synchrony is implicated in schizophrenia and autism, leading to cognitive fragmentation. Consciousness itself may emerge from these synchronized oscillations. The temporal binding of diverse neural activities creates a cohesive and continuous sense of self and awareness. This emergent property is what allows you to experience the world as a unified whole rather than disjointed sensory fragments. The silent orchestra adapts dynamically to attentional demands. During focused concentration, synchrony increases among relevant brain regions, enhancing signal transmission and filtering out distractions. Mindfulness and meditation practices can promote such neural coherence, fostering mental clarity and emotional regulation. Social interactions also influence neural synchrony. Shared attention and communication involve coupling of brain rhythms between individuals, facilitating empathy and connection. Mirror neuron systems enable one to simulate and understand others' actions and emotions, grounding social bonds in shared neural activity. As you reflect on your own experience, countless neurons continue to fire in orchestrated harmony, composing the music of your awareness. Each sensation, thought, and feeling contributes a note to this ongoing symphony, illuminating the mind with the light of consciousness. As the silent orchestra plays on, its melodies weave through every corner of your mind, shaping not only awareness but the very sense of self you carry. The self is not a fixed point but a flowing river, created anew each moment by the rhythms and harmonies of neuronal firing. It emerges from the dynamic interplay of networks across the brain, integrating sensation, memory, emotion, and reflection into the coherent experience known as I. This emergence of self is the brain's most profound composition, a symphony of light and shadow that tells the story of who you are. The default mode network, a set of interconnected brain regions, glows brightly when the mind is at rest or engaged in introspection. It supports self-referential thought, daydreaming, and imagining the future. This network weaves past experiences and future possibilities, constructing the narrative defining your identity. Its activity reflects the brain's constant quest to understand itself, to find meaning amid the flux of perception and thought. Consciousness depends on the precise timing of neural firing. When different brain regions synchronize their rhythms, they create temporal windows in which information integrates. This temporal binding allows for unity of experience, so sights, sounds, feelings, and thoughts coalesce into a single vivid now. Disruptions fragment consciousness, leading to altered states or cognitive impairments. Thus, the orchestra's timing is essential not just for awareness but for continuity of the self. Emotions add richness to this symphony. The limbic system's rhythms intertwine with the cortex, infusing thought with feeling. This interplay colors and deepens experience, making the self not only aware but alive. Emotional synchrony enables empathy, connection, and shared understanding binding us to others. It is the music of the heart echoing within the brain's silent halls. The brain's plasticity ensures this orchestra is ever-changing. Life's experiences, relationships, challenges, and growth reshape neural connections, modifying rhythms and harmonies. This capacity for change underlies healing, learning, and transformation. Each new skill, insight, or relationship composes new movements in your personal symphony, expanding the repertoire of your mind. Moreover, the brain's rhythms modulate states of consciousness, from deep sleep to focused attention, meditation to creativity. Practices cultivating awareness enhance neural synchrony, promoting mental clarity and emotional balance. The silent orchestra responds, tuning toward harmony and resilience. In social contexts, the orchestra extends beyond the individual. Shared attention and communication involve coupling neural rhythms between people, fostering connection and understanding. This interpersonal synchrony forms the foundation of culture, language, and collective identity. It reveals the mind's music is not solo but ensemble, resonating through relationships and communities. As you live, the silent orchestra ceaselessly performs. Each thought, sensation, emotion, and memory contributes its note. Neurons fire in time, crafting the complex, beautiful music of your awareness and selfhood. Though silent to others, it is the vivid soundscape of your existence, the light guiding you through every moment. So listen gently within. Feel your mind's orchestra rhythm. Know you are conductor and audience, composer and composition. In this music lies your true essence, alive, aware, endlessly unfolding.